hopefully start. I'm sure you guys have a lot of questions, and obviously I haven't been available for like a week or so. So, first of all, I know what you guys are going to ask, and I did think it was a flagrant foul, and our reffing just needs to be better. And it's tough. Obviously, the refs are in a really difficult spot. It's one of the hardest jobs in the world, in my opinion, is to make calls. All you do is get yelled at the whole time by everybody. You're never winning. So I think for us, as the league's just got to do better protecting our players in that regard. I don't really think that it was up for debate. Obviously, it wasn't called in real time. You go back and watch the clip. I think it's pretty straightforward. It's kind of been a discussion for like 3 years now, and I think we really need to do a better job protecting the people in this league. And, obviously I've been involved in a few of those plays, but there's been plenty others across the league that, haven't got called, go back and post-game or whatever it is. Teams submit clips, nothing really changes. So I think overall the league just has to do better, and we have to invest in those areas. The technology can get better. We can treat the referees a little bit better, pay them like they're full-time employees. I think things like that. And I think a lot has obviously come after that, and as I've stood up here and said before, like the harassment, the hate, none of that is okay. That goes for the opposing team we play, that goes for my teammates, that goes for my coaches. There should never be a question of character. Like I've always stood up here and said that, and that's truly what I believe. That's how I was raised. So, none of that is okay, and I don't want anybody to ever experience that. I think it can be really frustrating to me at times, and I think it's difficult. I think a lot of people sometimes think I'm a robot. I'm not a robot. I have emotions, I have feelings, and it can be really difficult to go through a lot of that. And, I'm 24 years old trying to navigate a lot, and I think at times I've been in this world for 4 years now, and you would never change any of it, but there are times that it is hard, and there are times that, it probably affects me a little bit more than I do put on, and, I would never change any of that for the world, but I think it's important that people do remember that part of it too. So, at the same time, it's really interesting to me because, even I turned the TV on Sunday, and that game was on Wednesday, and that's all people are still talking about. And I feel like that's just a real disservice to our league. And I get it. You talk about it. You talk about whether it's flagrant. You talk about whatever it is. But to continue to beat down, and then for the narrative to be taken other places that is really just that's just really not acceptable, I think it's hard to see, and it's a disservice to my team, but it's also a disservice to the other teams in this league and other players in this league. There's so much amazing talent, and there's so many amazing players that are playing at an incredibly high rate. And I remember, I think it was Sunday or Saturday, whatever day that was. I remember watching them discuss it on TV, and I didn't know they were going to discuss it. I was just watching the other games because I try to watch as much as I can, and I honestly felt bad for the players that were playing in the games those days. And also I felt bad for my teammates. They played on Friday, and they dominated, and they played really well, and nobody wanted to talk about that. They were just worried about everything else. So, and there had been, I think 10 plus other games that had already happened to that point. So, I think it's all of our jobs to help refocus the narratives a lot of the times, and we can do better at that. And I think it'll help our game grow a lot more. And that goes for obviously the Fever and whatever. But at the same time, you guys are here in this arena every time we play. And the amount of people that are passionate and love the game and respect the other team, and the young girls and the young boys that show up, we can't lose sight of that. And that's whether we're here at home and whether we're on the road. And, there's a lot of really, really great people that, love this league and love our organization. And, I'm thankful to be here in an organization that has my back and will always stand up for me. And, I think we can't ever lose sight of that. The joy and the fire and the fun, that's why you play this game. And I think it kind of goes back to a little bit of my frustration. I remember seeing a headline and I don't remember who wrote this, and I try to stay away from social media as much as I can, but sometimes it can be hard. I need to be aware of certain things, and obviously my team makes me aware of certain things. And it was the headline read this season has been everything but fun, and it's just full of frustration for Clark and the Fever. And I'm no one ever asked me that. Nobody ever asked me that. That's wrong. Discuss my play. Discuss if I played bad. Discuss if I played good. Discuss our play. And at times I understand there's other things that need to be talked about. Great, whatever. But let's continue to move on and, things like that. And but I think just focusing on the joy and the amazing parts of this game, like I said, I think it's sometimes a disservice to not only our team but to everybody else. And let's get back to a lot more smiling and positivity. I think our world could use a lot of that. And then moving on, I know everybody's going to ask about my health. I will be out Sunday, but I'm feeling a lot better, excited to get back into practice today, and then feeling really, really positive about getting back into one of the games at the back-to-back. Obviously, difficult coming back in a back-to-back, so we'll have to be cautious of that, but I feel a lot better, and like I said, excited to get back into practice, and this week has been very helpful for my overall health. So other than that, if you guys have any questions, I know I kind of just ranted for a while, but
well, you said it was hard or challenging for you to see the way people talk about it. What specifically would you say is difficult for you in that way? Is it people speaking for you, like you said with that headline? What about that is so difficult?
I think people just using my names in ways that are just inappropriate, and a lot of people, you don't know me, you don't know who I am, and I think at times, like, you know, whether you're me, whether you're LeBron, whether you're the coach of the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, whether you're the coach of the New York Giants, like, there's going to be things that happen that aren't a reflection of you. That doesn't make that okay. I think that's the frustrating part. I think the frustrating part is it seems like everyone wants a click, and that's really disappointing. I get it. You have a job to do. I get that. I get, you know, but at the same time, like, that's all you're going to talk about. Like, it's frustrating. Again, talk about it. Talk about if it was a flagrant or not. But everything that came after that is confusing to me, and it's not acceptable. And again, I didn't even think it should be up for debate if it was a flagrant or not. So there's that too. But like I said, it frustrates me that it takes away so much from the product that's being put on the floor. And we've done so much to grow the game over the course of the last 3 years, and it's just like we keep kicking ourselves when we're down, and that stinks. Like, we've done so much work. This is the 30th year of the WNBA. We're in a great spot. You know, the talent level is as high as it's ever been. Viewership is as high as it's ever been. Every arena selling out. That's not just for us. That's for teams across the league. And we can't, you know, just beat on each other and put each other down. And, you know, we just have to continue to find ways to uplift. And then everybody just get better at the same time. Like I said, my points about the refs and the league overall, like, we have to improve. Like, league office, you got to do better. Have to find ways to do better. And that's just reality. And that doesn't go for just me and the Fever. That goes for everybody in the league.
You mentioned that it's been a topic of conversation over the past 3 years, officiating. But do you feel like it's improved? And I mean, I asked Steph this question on Monday, more is being called. Yeah. But it's got to be seen in real time.
Well, I think you have to consider the evolution of basketball too. Like, the game has changed a lot. Like, this isn't the same game that was played 10 years ago, you know? And I think, you know, I wasn't on the committee this summer that said it needs to be less physical. That was, obviously I'm on board with that and I agree with that, but that wasn't like my doing. That was the coaches. That was, you know, that's what they really thought would help the product of this game. And don't get me wrong, there's going to be mistakes. Refs are going to make mistakes. They're not going to see everything. The egregious ones, you gotta call. Like, that's just the fact of the matter. You cannot miss things like that. And, you know, it's been going on for 3 years. It's just like, we got to find ways to continue to improve. And I talked to a lot of these refs before the game, and they're great people, and their job is really, really hard. And I never want to, you know, nag, and nobody wants to do that. And, like, they have feelings and emotions just like I do. Like, I understand that, and that, you know, that's a tough spot to be in, but we just got to be better all around. And I think that kind of goes back to my point of the investment, the teaching, the treating them like they should be treated. Like, invest in them, make them a full-time employee, you know, pay them what they're supposed to be paid, train them all year round. Like, how can we pour into them to make them better? I think about that rather than, like, just do your job, make the call. Like, it's hard at the same time. So I think there's both sides to it.
You got time for one more, make it a good one.
Yeah. Thanks, I appreciate it.
It would be easy just in group nature to take those things for granted.
Yeah.
What keeps you grateful for those?
Yeah, I mean, you never take any of that for granted, and you know, I think it's really cool and probably not talked about enough because everybody's worried about everything else right now. Like, we have 3 all-star starters. That's a really, really hard thing to do in this league, especially with how much talent there is and how well everybody's been playing. So just really proud of my teammates, and I think they would both say, like, we're not able to do it without everybody else and the people that pour into us every single day, and our organization that has our backs constantly. So just really happy for us. It'll be fun to be in Chicago with them. I think my first 2 years we were all on the same team, so this might be the first time we get split up. If it was our choice, we'd all be on the same team. We were discussing it. I said I'm probably going to be the one left out to dry by myself. They'll be on the same team, but we'll see how it turns out. But whoever is drafting us, if you want to keep us on the same side, we'd appreciate that. So, thanks, guys.